contradiction in your world that's made of glass. Something small can shatter it and nail you to the past. The road beneath your wheels, the madness that you feel. Oh, you will pay with your life.
Welcome to The Metal Voice. Once again on the show, the legend, 48 book master metal, the man, Mr. Martin Popoff. What's going on, sir?
Why, thank you, sir. Nothing much. Just doing a lot of work, a lot of projects, a lot of books I can't talk about, but there is one we can talk about today.
So what's the name of the book, Martin?
Well, it is called Steal Away the Night and Ozzy Osbourne Day by Day. Just came out. Nice, big, luscious, hardcover, full-color throughout book. Very similar to the 2 Minutes to Midnight and Iron Maiden Day by Day, in terms of being a timeline with quotes. A lot of interviews from my archive, quotes throughout, depending on the date throughout, and then a lot of memorabilia and a lot of photos.
Are you really getting into the Randy Rhoads years and what happened with Randy Rhoads up to his death? And
all the tour dates are more or less discussed and summarized. Everything as you go along, his years in Quiet Riot, going over and working with Ozzy at his house and all that stuff, and how these guys get hired into the band, Lee Kerslake, Bob Daisley. Sure, there's a lot, all that early history is in there in quite a bit of detail.
So to make this fun, we're going to do a top 10 list once again with you, Martin. We had a great time last time. It's going to be called the Top 10 Ozzy Osbourne albums from best to worst. Now, according again to Martin Popoff.
Yeah.
So here we go. You ready for this, Martin?
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Sure, let's go.
All right. We're going to start off with number 10, Black Rain. Tell me why you think Black Rain holds the 10th position.
Well, and just to clarify here, this isn't exactly a top 10. We actually, Ozzy actually has exactly 10 studio albums. So essentially, we're ranking all of the Ozzy albums from worst to first. So
understood.
Black Rain. I mean, not a lot to say about it. What you're going to see is I've actually put the latest three all at the end of this list. So I mean. I just found that what's happening with Ozzy these days is that these records are a little bit written too much by committee. They're a little bit too grungy and dark, and so it doesn't feel like the golden period for me. Having said that, I mean, I do find that Black Rain. I mean, it is a very well put together album. There's a lot of thought put into it. The production is pretty cool. So yeah, I don't know. It's more or less just like. These are not the magic years for an old man like me.
Okay. Number 9, Gus G joins the band, and they come out with the album called Scream. So why do you think Scream does not hold? I mean, you just explained it to us, but Scream. Yeah. Tell us a little about Scream.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty cool that Gus is in the band, but, the other thing that I'm not crazy about is Gus is not really being particularly too much like Gus. He's not the... He's not the Greek power metaler in the Ozzy band, so it feels a little bit like his personality is tamped down. But yeah, I mean, I got some good value out of Scream. There's a song on it called Soul Sucker, and Ozzy actually talked about how he almost called the album that. And,
I remember Soul Sucker.
Yeah, Soul Sucker. Yeah. But Let Me Hear You Scream was a big anthem off of that. But again, well put together, well constructed album. Obviously, a lot of time and energy and money put into it, but not my favorite.
I mean, I would have liked to see more input by Gus G, and I think that's what you were getting at before.
Exactly.
And not a lot of input. And this guy's a super creative guy. He's an amazing guitarist, and I think it would have been a different album if he had a lot more say and a lot more input. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Here we go. Number 8. Down to Earth. For me, this was a little sour. I mean, to me, I would have put this probably number 10. I found a couple of cool songs on the album, but overall, it was just, maybe too dark. Too much down tuning. I don't know. Something too dark for me.
Exactly. You hit it on the head. I mean, Marty Fredrickson's in there, so there's outside songwriters. Zach is playing, but not particularly, I believe, writing. Yeah, not writing on it. So Zach is there, Robert Trujillo, Mike Borden. So it's kind of a cool lineup, but again, this is like post really knowing what to do with yourself kind of thing.
Yeah.
Metal has changed so much by this time. It's been through a lot of things, and Ozzy's, you know, there's a feeling that he's just trying to stay relevant.
Yeah. Here we go. Number 7. A lot of people love this album, Martin. Number 7, Ultimate Sin. The Ultimate Sin. I mean, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I had that pretty far down the list. I mean, this is to me is Ozzy's hair metal album.
Yeah, it's true.
But yet the production is really bad on it. Like for some strange reason, it's just dirty and crunchy and just not very well produced. There's a lot of distortion in it. I just find the riffs somewhat uninspired. I mean, surprising coming out of Jakey Lee, who's one of my favorite guitarists.
Yeah.
But I don't find a lot of value in that album. I just find it quite hard to listen to just from a production standpoint.
All right. Number 6, Ozzmosis. And I guess this was the first of the grunge era albums, right? Grunge was coming in full swing. Ozzy's, bringing some outside writers, trying to cash in on the grunge sound. Am I correct in this?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's 1995. There are the outside writers. I mean, it's a little bit grungy, but I still like the fact that it still has a little bit of the corporate sound from the previous album. So it's kind of a bridge album where there's a lot of good stuff on there. I thought Perry Mason was a pretty cool tune.
Yes.
This is the one where Lemmy's in on some of the songwriting. There's Steve Vai. This was, as you go through the Ozzy book, you will find that there's just a lot of weird stuff going on with, Steve Vai coming in and guitarists and aborted sessions and songs thrown out, start again. So this was a very strange time where they were really agonizing over the making of the album. And Ozzy, he told me himself in one interview that I had that this is one of the most difficult albums for him because he didn't get along with the producer and the singing was so high and hard for him to do.
As we move on to number 5. Again, this was a sort of comeback album in a sense. The image changed. Suddenly the blonde hair is gone. He's got the dark hair. We're hitting the 90s. No More Tears. What can you say about No More Tears?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, this is kind of the end of the hair metal years. It's a big corporate album. A lot of work was put into it, but a lot of great songs on it. I mean, I like I Don't Want to Change the World.
Yeah.
It had the big hit on there, Mama, I'm Coming Home. Time After Time was kind of a sappy ballad, but the heavy ones were pretty cool. Mr. Tinker Train opening track was pretty cool. So I got a lot of value out of this album. I found it pretty good. It's kind of interesting that Ozzy, you would think is a guy who might have succumbed completely to hair metal. Now, if you see the pictures of the band from '86 through this era, I mean, he looks pretty hair metal. But the music did not get that hair metal. So this is an album with a lot of bottom end, a lot of slowness to it. It's almost prescient of that whole grunge thing that was.
For myself, No More Tears has got to be an epic track. I mean, Zakk Wylde, at his peak for myself. That's just good.
Definitely.
Now we're moving into number 4. And I like what I'm hearing there, Martin. I like what I'm seeing. Blizzard of Oz. Of course, I would have moved it up a little higher, but this is the list according to Martin Popoff. Number 4, Blizzard of Oz. The first album, which the band was supposed to be called Blizzard of Oz. Tell us about Blizzard.
Well, the reason I don't have it higher is I remember as an angry young metalhead loving everything to do with the new wave of British heavy metal. This album comes out, and it was not heavy enough for us. I mean, I know it's a bit disco-y. Crazy Train's a bit disco-y. It's got ballads. It's got poppy, almost pre-hair metal songs and things like No Bone Movies. So all of a sudden it's got a little instrumental. It's got, all of a sudden you start kind of throwing out songs that were a little, not that great. And you don't have much of an album left. So I found this album, I mean, it has the great Randy Rhoads on it, and it has that great production sound, that sort of overdriven, set that you almost feel is something that comes from the band Sweet, from their classic era, Give Us a Wink, Desolation Boulevard. So, but when this record came out, I remember being pretty darn underwhelmed with it. I mean, it's around the time that Heaven and Hell comes out, and I thought Heaven and Hell kicked its butt.
Yeah.
So I just found it a little lightweight.
I would disagree with that. But anyways, for me it would be more 1 or 2 on the list. A Blizzard of Oz, I was maybe 14, 15 years old at the time, young metalhead like yourself. And oh my God, I was just completely blown away. Number 3, No Rest for the Wicked. Tell us about No Rest for the Wicked.
And I wanted to put this here to support what I just said, the premise that, support the metal in these metal bands. I mean, I just found this was a cool, terrific, heavy comeback after, the kind of shambles that was Ultimate Sin. I thought the playing was tight and well put together. This is the first album for Zach. Miracle Man is just a fantastic track. And to me, No Rest for the Wicked is a good, heavy comeback. And I love the way that it's actually, in many ways, less hair metal than the album before it, and less hair metal than even the album after it. It's like a pretty defiant rocking album for Ozzy to put out in 1988, right in the throes of hair metal.
Yeah, good point. Going to number 2, the one, the only, Diary of a Madman. Tell us about Diary of a Madman.
Yes, so what is, this is also somewhat sacrilege, just like putting Blizzard way down at number 4.
Yes, I won't hold it against you.
In the world is that Diary is the best Ozzy Osbourne album. It's like their Aerosmith rocks. It's just, you can do no wrong. Everybody rates it the best. But, and I love it. It's a great album. It's got Randy Rhoads. It's got that unique, strange push-pull chemistry, that feeling like the band is about to be pulled apart because the guitars are just kind of smothering everything else. I mean, everything is subservient to the guitars, I think, in this era of the band. I mean, it's very similar to the first album, but I love the way that the songs are heavier and darker, and it's just more well put together. It doesn't seem as chaotic, and I think, many of the Ozzy classics are on that album.
All right, which leads us to number 1. The best album in the Ozzy Osbourne catalog, according to Martin Popoff, is, well, what's left? There's not much left, right? Bark at the Moon. You heard it. Bark at the Moon. Tell us why. Okay, you love Jakey Lee. I know that. I personally would put this in the top 3 as well.
Yeah, I do love Jake, and of course, I mean, really, this one and Diary are pretty much tied for me. But I just do like the fact that it's got this really cool discipline to it. These great heavy riffs. I just love the fact that it feels actually more cohesive even than the Randy years. I mean, it just feels like a locked together, almost like a more powerful band than it was previous. The previous band was kind of punky, almost like a Iron Maiden Number of the Beast sort of sound. It was a little bit, loose bolted, I suppose. And I just think there's a lot of great epic classics on this album. Ozzy's singing great. It's a great era. I love that they bounced back and they were able to have a great success. And Ozzy's career was firing on all cylinders. So it's probably the album I play the most, and probably the only reason I play it more than Diary is that I just found that maybe I played Diary twice as much growing up, and I got sick of it more.
It is a refreshing album, I have to say that. There is this beautiful production on Bark at the Moon, and Jakey Lee is just like blazing. He's just blazing. And what makes it special is that he's not Randy Rhoads. It's just more of a flashy guitar playing opposed to neoclassical from Randy Rhoads. Well, there you have it. There you have it. Martin Popoff's favorite top 10 list, or top 10 records from the Ozzy Osbourne catalog. You can pick up his book. It's called Steal Away the Night and Ozzy Osbourne Day by Day. You can pick it up on his website. Give us the URL, Martin.
Yeah, so it's www.martinpopoff.com. But I have a supply of all of my books that are in print. I buy them from the publishers, or there's some that we've self-published, and so most of those you can only get at my site.
Okay.
And you go there. There's a dedicated page on every book that describes what's there. Sometimes there's some sample pages. So a lot of these are actually only available at the site. But things like this Ozzy Osbourne, the hair metal book, the Iron Maiden, the Metallica, the Rush, there's these big coffee table books. They're actually all available through Amazon and publishers and in most fine bookstores.
And 30 seconds, tell me about your Max Webster book. Just 30 seconds.
Yeah, that was a great thing. Max Webster's one of my favorite bands of all time. We self-published a book on them. They're a band with five studio albums from 76 to 1980. Love that band. Literally close to my favorite band of all time. Interviewed all the guys for the book. Long book, 100,000 words. There was a lot to talk about. Great production, great sounds. Favorite lyricist of all time in Pi Dubois, who wasn't even in the band. One of my top 3 favorite guitarists of all time in Kim Mitchell. So, great band. I never thought we'd do a book on them, obscure book, but it's sold pretty well. It's been surprising. So it's called Live Magnetic Air, the improbable saga of the superlative Max Webster, and that's available at my site as well.
Thanks, Martin. Thank you for being on the show. We will have you again.
Awesome. Thank you. It was
Another
fun.
top 10 list. I don't know. Or we'll do something else. Doesn't matter. Thanks for watching The Metal Voice.
Right.